Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello, all the people in the chat. Hello. Hello, everybody. Sorry about the slight delay. Technical issues, boring stuff. Won't bore you with that. Hello, Molly. Hello, sorry, Dem Jackie, the regular. Hello, Jurix. I think you just said you're from Latvia. Hello. Hello, not Jack Howard. Good to see you here. Nice creative name you've got there. Hello, my name is Jack Howard, and I might be wearing this fancy blazer, but I'm not wearing any trousers. Hello, and welcome to the Amazon Music Sessions. We're here live every Thursday from 6 p.m.-ish on the Amazon Music UK Twitch channel, and now on the Amazon Music app. So if you're out and about, you can watch us on the go. You can't escape us. We're everywhere. We have two very different artists performing tonight, and it's going to be a really special show. Coming up, we have Bishi, the London-based multi-instrumentalist, producer, composer, and performance artist. And tonight, she'll be showcasing brand new material with a one-of-a-kind VR performance. VR! I mean, I can't wait to see what that looks like. Her onstage collaborations include the likes of the London Symphony Orchestra, no big deal, Yoko Ono's Meltdown, Roisin Murphy, and Tony Visconti, who used to work with David Bowie. How impressive is that? Can't wait to talk about all that stuff with her later. And our headliner tonight is Colin MacLeod, the Scottish singer-songwriter whose new record, Hold Fast, Hold Fast, is coming out in February 2021. And the video for his new single, Old Soul, featuring the one and only Sheryl Crow, came out earlier this week. And tonight, for the first time in months, I believe specifically 11 months, Colin is performing with a full band. We're making dreams come true on this show. And tonight, like all the other shows, we want you to be as involved as possible. So get yourself in that Twitch chat. I can already see that everyone's saying where they're from. Greetings from Turkey. Hello. Everyone's having a good time already. Hello from France. Look at this. We've got a multi-international audience. So yeah, get in the Twitch chat. Send in your comments, but also submit your questions, please, for either of our guests. We want to hear from you. And the way that you can do that, if you can look at me for a second, I know you're probably busy with all your different tabs open, but just be in the moment for a second. I've got a thingamajiggy on screen somewhere over here. And if you click on that thingamajiggy, another thingamabob, technical language, will pop out. And in that thingamabob, you can ask a question. And make sure that you leave your name, otherwise it'll be anonymous. And anonymous questions are boring. We don't want anonymous questions. We love shout outs on this show. But also, if you see a question in there that's already been asked that you want to see answered, give it a little upvote and I'll make sure that we ask it later on in the show. Right. Are we all clear? We've had enough of my face and my voice. I think it's time to get on with the show. So we're starting in a very special way. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 15 minutes of uninterrupted live set with visuals from Volta VR and the incredible sounds of Bishi. Enjoy.
Hello, good evening everybody. My name is Bishi. I'm honoured to be opening the live stream this evening. I'm going to be performing some new music. First, I'm going to start with an improv, which is my electric sitar here, which is MIDI mapped into my Ableton Push to my left. My second song is my new single, Don't Shoot the Messenger, produced by Tony Visconti. That's going to be out next Friday, the 16th of October on all streaming platforms. And to finish, I'll be performing Atmosphere number 1 from my EP, The Telescope Eye. Tonight's performance is a proud collaboration between myself and Volta, a mixed reality experience company. So sit back, take in the sights and the sounds, and let us transport you to another dimension. Thank you so much. So that was my improv, and then the second song was Don't Shoot the Messenger, my forthcoming single next Friday, the 16th of October. I just want to say a few thanks. I would like to thank everybody at Volta. That's Yuli Levtov, Alex Kane and Owen Hindley for transporting us to this incredible environment. And it's been an absolute pleasure to collaborate with them and work with them. And I can't really say enough, really. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank my sound woman, Leah Mice, and I'd like to thank the Rattle for all of their support. And yeah, this has been quite an experience. I hope you've been enjoying everything at home. I'm really looking forward to your questions, and I'm really looking forward to the chat a little bit later. This next song, and my final song, is a dance number called Atmosphere Number 1. And we're in an atmosphere or two. Thanks very much. Thank you.
That, I mean, that was unlike anything I've ever seen. I feel like I've been to another plane of existence. If you've just joined us, hello. This is the Amazon Music Sessions live on Twitch. We're here every Thursday from 6 p.m.-ish tonight on the Amazon Music UK Twitch channel, so give us a follow if you haven't already. We're also on the Amazon Music app. If you have any questions, and I'm sure you do, for what you've just seen, anything for Bishi at all, leave it in the little thingy-majiggy that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Ask some questions in there, any comments that you want. And while we wait for Bishi to prepare for an interview, let's take a look at a clip from her wonderful single, Ostara. Hi Bishi, can you hear me? I'm very well, thank you. That was unlike Well, let's welcome to the stream, back from the alternate reality, it's Bishi. Hello, how are you? Thank you. I feel like I've just been in a complete trance. How about you? What was that like for you?
I think I was in a bit of a trance as well. I mean, it's been a first for the entire team, but it's been amazing, and it's been amazing to work together on this. So I'm really happy.
So tell us a little bit about the performance. Like, where did that idea come from? How did it all come to be?
Sure. Well, I've been MIDI mapping my sitar into my Ableton Push as something for the last year, and I also have a history of performing with other technologists who are artists, and I'm a member of a collective in East London, and I was put in touch with Volta, the mixed reality company, and yeah, we just came together really quickly, and I loved what they did. I actually saw one of their founders do a lecture a couple of months ago, and I thought, yeah, that looks really up my street. So just to have this moment to come together is fantastic.
Because you do this a lot, don't you? You like to incorporate technology into your performances in lots of different ways.
I certainly do, yeah. I worked with very traditional, just one-woman projection shows, and then I've worked with bodysuits where through sensors on my body, I control the sound and all of the visuals. I've also done some performances with Imogen Heap's mini Mimu gloves, and that's been really good fun as well. So I love it. I think it adds it really adds, it kind of amplifies the sort of music that I write. And I just really enjoy it.
And what made you sort of like, did you always do that, or did it start somewhere? What was the first time that you started employing other technologies into performance?
I think it was around the time of my first album. I've always been very inspired by artists like Laurie Anderson, who was doing this kind of work in the 70s. And when I was a kid, I got really into Bjork. And of course, she's taken technology into, she's really gone to the outer limits. And I just really like the idea. I think because I'm British Bengali, so I was born in this country, but my parents are from India. I love to bring different cultures and different languages together, and bringing together technology into the kind of music that I like to make just felt like a natural evolution with all of my interests.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that live before, so I'm amazed that we're able to do it today. How far do you think something like this can go? Because you were disappearing and reappearing and completely like on a different plane of existence. So I can't imagine how much further this could go.
Yeah, well, the world that I was in was the Volta world, so I know that all of those components can be changed and redesigned and can be manipulated in different ways. And I really hope that we can come together and do something else and go even more out there. I think you can sort of change the world. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but yeah, hopefully we can.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal, isn't it? And what advice? What advice would you give to somebody who's watching this, who is an up-and-coming artist or somebody who's excited about this sort of thing and has thought about adding that extra layer of something to their performance, but is like, oh, no, that's not something that it happens very traditionally? What would you say to somebody who's thinking about something like that?
I would say trust your vision. I think most people who are creative see things in their mind and they feel things. And so even the most basic ideas, if you can get them down, like whether it's a really traditional sketchbook or whether it's your voice notes app or whether it's a Pinterest board, if you start to accumulate all the things that you like, obviously using social media is really amazing to connect with other creatives. But if you think an idea is really, really basic, even if it's just a seed of an idea, Volta and I have just worked on this performance together literally in the last week. But I went to a lecture, I saw something, I knew that there was a seed of something there. And I think if you can just translate really simple ideas, that's a great way for creative teams to be able to come together. You don't have to start with some really intimidating vision. You can start with something really simple and then just grow something together. And that way you're able to collaborate on a much more equal level.
Incredible. I completely agree. And I wanted to talk about the fact that you champion technologies off stage as well. Can you tell us a little bit about which?
Yes. I am the founder of a platform called Which, the Women in Technology Creative Industries Hub. And it's a platform to elevate the voices of women and non-binary genders in tech. I've curated a whole host of salons. Obviously, we're not able to do that in the time of COVID. So I have a podcast out on Apple and on various streaming platforms called Creative Women in Tech. And that we have, I'm just editing the second series, and we have guests like Anna Meredith, Hannah Peel and Wando Obize. So just people that I've known from performing and from making things. And they have some really fascinating things to say. So yeah, find Creative Tech in Women podcast.
Wonderful. And you were mentioning social media earlier. Has the lockdown situation that we're all in, as weird as it is, has that situation and the reliance on social media, has that resulted, has that enabled you to reach more people?
I don't know whether it's enabled me to reach more people, but it's certainly got me thinking about how a creative person exists. I think for those of us lucky enough to have a smartphone or to have some kind of technology, I have an iPhone XR, and that's a broadcast quality camera. And I've there are so many incredible YouTube tutorials that things like Spitfire Audio running their summer school. There are so many free courses out there, and there are so many ideas that you can, be able to do on some kind of a tablet or a smartphone if you don't have a laptop. So I really believe that there's so much creativity that's just literally in the palm of our hands. And that's the position that I work from. Whatever situation you're thrown into, you'll always find a way as a creative person to make something work.
And is there anybody else that you can think of that is experimenting with tech in a way that you're inspired by?
Yeah, sure. I mean, pretty much everyone that I've presented at Which. I have a friend called Lone Taxidermist, aka Natalie Sharp. She has a playable spine. That's really
What?
incredible.
Did I just hear you
Yeah. No,
correctly?
that's yeah, yes. She has a model of a spine and it's playable. So that really blew my mind. What else has been?
Wow.
So many things have been blowing my mind.
The things that people get. There's no tutorial on YouTube for that.
No. But
How to
I think
turn
there
your
are some
own
pretty
back
excellent
into a
videos as
musical
well.
instrument. Love it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
We were speaking actually before the live show about your relationship with
Yes.
Tony Visconti. So, I mean, you mentioned it in the live show as well.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about that, how that came to be.
Sure. Well, about 4 years ago, I was a session musician on another album, and we were recording in the middle of Ireland. And I went as a sitar player and as a singer. And because of I was trained in a Bulgarian women's choir, and that's something that Tony picked up on, and that's something that we really bonded on. So bonded over rather. And we were hanging out, in the middle of this beautiful estate in Ireland, kind of recording, and then we became friends, and I gave him a copy of my album, my second album, Albion Voice, not really thinking much of it. And I went away to a rave in Cornwall in the time that we were able to go to raves in
10
Cornwall.
years ago.
And I came back. Yeah,
or a few months
totally.
Ago, whatever it is, time is weird these days.
Absolutely. But I found this really beautiful email in my inbox, and he said, look me up if you're ever in New York, like, let's hang out. And then I wrote back to him and I said, well, I've been at this rave in Cornwall and I got no sleep and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, why doesn't anyone invite me to anything like this anymore? And it's like, because you're a legend. Anyway, so
do you think that Tony Visconti will want to
of...
come to this rave? I don't think we should ask. That'll be embarrassing.
Yeah.
He'll say no and I'll just be embarrassed.
Do you know what? I think if he might not come to it, he wants to hear about everything that went on. Definitely. He's definitely into that. But yeah, he's been really encouraging to me over the years, and has really encouraged me as a composer and as a producer, and just as an all-round performer. And I brought him this song and I asked him if he'd be up for recording it, and lo and behold, he said yes, and it was wonderful. We recorded at Visconti Studio, which is affiliated with Kingston University. It's a beautiful studio, and it's just a really beautiful day, and I'm so happy. I couldn't be happier with this collaboration.
And the song is called Don't Shoot the Messenger. So tell us about working with him on that, and how it developed working with him specifically, and why that song was the right song to work with him on.
Well, I think basically he just really liked the song, and I think it was it was the first time I started MIDI mapping my sitar into my Ableton Push. So I took him, I guess, like a demo production of layers of sitar and voice, and that was recorded in a really pure way. We were using some really beautiful mics that I can't remember the names of the mics, but I'm sure if you look on my Instagram and you zoom in, you can recognize
they just sound real nice, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. But it was really great because when we were in the studio, Tony gave us the T-Rex string writing masterclass. So how he wrote all of the strings and then how he recorded all of the strings. And so it was great. We got the T-Rex masterclass in there, which we were absolutely thrilled with.
So great. I mean, I bet he's got so many stories about working with T-Rex and with Bowie and all the rest of the legends that he's worked with.
Oh, yeah. Well, for the release, the celebration of the release of the single, I'm going to be interviewing Tony over Zoom, and it's a free Eventbrite link. You can find it on the link tree in my Instagram, and that's next Friday, the 16th of October. And I'm going to be in conversation and kind of really getting in depth with the breadth of the different kinds of artists that Tony's worked with. He's worked with people like Esperanza Spalding. He's worked with Angelique Kidjo alongside, Bowie and T-Rex and Thin Lizzy and Sparks. I'm really interested in the breadth of his experience as a producer and just in his knowledge in it. if you haven't read his autobiography, I would really suggest everyone get a copy of that, because it's absolutely fascinating.
And you must be so excited as well to sit down and have an in-depth conversation about creativity with him. And there must be so many questions you want to ask.
Yeah. Well, usually the chats we have together is more, it's just us having a massive lols, basically. But for this conversation, I've really gone away and researched, and I found out all of these amazing facts, like he mixed Golden Brown by the Stranglers, which is an amazing record. But there's something, yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
I know. This is the thing. He's done so much that you can't really know where it ends.
Yeah. No, I've literally been texting him going, you didn't tell me this. But if you take a record like Golden Brown by the Stranglers, it's effectively an acoustic Baroque pop song, but it sounds like a tough rock record. And that's a part of his mastery as a producer, is he takes acoustic instruments like the sitar or like the voice and just makes them sound absolutely gargantuan. So I'm really excited about all of that.
Well, I love about Tony,
and I'm really excited to kind of just share it.
Tony's not here right now. Let's talk about you. Has 2020 this year and all the rest of it? I know it's been overly quite negative, and people are trying their best to keep their positive heads on. Has it affected you creatively at all? Has it been a strange experience making music or creating music during this time?
I think 2020 has been incredibly strange, and it's been stressful, and it's been surreal, and everybody has felt the effects, and nobody is immune to it, but we're all experiencing slightly different versions of it. So I think in the first 6 weeks, I actually had a plan for 2020 and I mourned that plan, and I realized that I had to get everything in order to try and really work out how to survive as an artist. I've also been doing a little bit of volunteering. So I've been volunteering for an organisation called The Citizens. I don't know if you saw on Vogue, there was a Forces for Change front cover. There was a really amazing pregnant nurse on the front cover of the Forces for Change issue called Minal Viz. And I was, quietly doing some volunteering for her on the side. And that was really educational. And yeah, generally just trying to keep a good head on my shoulders. I've been experimenting a lot and pushing myself as a producer. Before lockdown happened, I was experimenting on sound with a violinist and composer called Galia Bizan-Galieva, who's worked with the likes of Radiohead and Frank Ocean. So I was lucky that those sessions happened before lockdown, because I could really take away what I learned in those sessions and really push myself as a producer and push myself as a player, which, it all sounds very productive, but, it's been hard. It's been hard on everybody.
It sounds very productive, but also it's been a long time now. So it's not like you're packing a lot in, although it feels like not much has happened, and it's not been a short time anymore. So it sounds like you've done a lot, but also it's been a long time. And you've been getting more into the producing and things like that. Do you approach producing and composing differently from when you're writing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think they're all coming together, especially if you take an interface like Ableton, which is, really, really amazing for live. Some people just like to produce directly onto it. I actually prefer to go into Logic Pro, but there's something about how you can manipulate instruments and how you can build textures that is really user-friendly in Ableton. So I've been doing that. I've been going to some orchestral scoring free classes online and, just doing bits there. But trying to just make the best use of time while we're in this really surreal moment. And actually really excited by the breadth of ideas from other artists. I've been watching other live streams. I've been, really looking at how people are dealing with this creative moment, whether they're artists or activists. People have been really using the internet to do and say some really extraordinary things.
And you mentioned earlier as well that you were classically trained, and then you've slowly sort of stepped out of those traditions. How did you end up finding your own feet, like using that classical training and then going into this newer way of expressing yourself?
I think basically when I was in my final year of school, I tried to get into a bunch of music colleges, and they were all a bit like she's not right for us. So I got into art college, and art college is where you can just rock up and, you know, dress how you want to and just rock up and be a star. And that's why there are so many interesting musicians that have come out of art college, because you can go there and experience music or just experience the arts in a way that's a bit more free. Whereas the classical tradition, everything is very rigid.
Yeah, more structured, I imagine. And art college is probably a little bit more, allows you to play.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was at art college that I learned Pro Tools, which is kind of mad because that's what you'd expect they'd be to be teaching you on your music course. But yeah, I mean, I think also, like, as a sitar player, they really wanted me to study and become like a trained virtuoso. But I was a part of the LGBTQ club scene, and I was going to Central St. Martin's, and I didn't want something that was pure. Like, whatever I did has to, or whatever I make has to reflect the world in a much larger context. And I think they've forgiven me now, I think.
And tell us a bit more about the LGBT club scene and its effect on you personally and musically.
Yeah, well, so I was the resident DJ at a club called Cashpoint at a venue called Moonlighting in Soho. And we had designers who were world famous names, people like Gareth Pugh. Who else? The stylist Nicola Formichetti, who was Lady Gaga's stylist, used to come a lot. And actually, because it was right round the back of Central St. Martin's when it was based on Charing Cross Road, a lot of the designers came. And it's really, it wasn't just designers. We had performance artists, we had bands, we had drag queens, and it was just our night. It was the early days of social media, so I'm putting a bit of a date on everything. It was the early days of social media, so everybody really went out, but they really stood together as a community and as a creative community. And that's what has really instilled in me from those days. Now, of course, there are less venues in London, and I think that, and now things have moved more online, which I actually believe is really interesting. But there was something about different people standing together in a creative community. We had people from different generations, you know, like Boy George and people like that would rock up, and then you'd get, you know, I don't know, I think randomly the White Stripes even showed up one night when we were doing a fashion show. And yeah, it was a really, really creative time in my life. So just having a wide spread of people and having a wide spread of artists, that's what I really took away from that club experience.
What I'm taking away from it as well is that you're a multi-instrumentalist, a producer, a composer, a performance artist, and a DJ.
Yeah. No, I actually started as a DJ, which I just do less of because I don't really have the time more than anything else. But I listen to a lot of music.
And community seems to be such a huge drive for you. You seem to really thrive on collaboration. So what advice would you give to people that are struggling to find their, you know, they're trying to find their own people and figure out where to find those people? What advice would you give to somebody like that?
Yeah, well, you know, I've really struggled in my life. I've really struggled to find people. I think you have to stay creative and you have to stay on the path and believe that there are really great relationships out there. And you have to keep staying creative and keep turning up, because it's that one party or that one event or that one seed of an idea, as I said before, or just, that one meeting you show up to, you can just, you know, you'll end up saying hello to someone and then bam, like a couple of months later, you're doing a VR live stream. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. So
yeah.
Would you care to do some audience questions?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
We've got
I will.
a few in now. So from somebody called Raheem, he says, what's been your favorite collaboration?
What's been my favorite collaboration? Ooh,
it's a tough one.
That's a really good one.
Go on, mention somebody. I won't
really
tell them which one you picked as a favorite.
Oh, okay. So I worked with Sean Ono Lennon on a horror movie soundtrack.
Wow. Okay. What was that for?
What's it called? Yeah. It was for a horror film, and I'm sort of like trying to remember. It was our friend Jordan Galland who directed the film. Ava's Possessions, that's it. I love horror films, and it's always been my dream to sing on a horror movie soundtrack, because horror movie soundtracks are one of the genres that I love.
It obviously allows you to be a bit
out a band
more
called Goblin from
experimental
the 70s.
and to just go a bit nuts in a way that is really emotive.
Yeah. So it's always been my dream to sing on a horror movie soundtrack. And it just so happens that I was in New York on another creative project, and Sean's someone that I've worked with a couple of times, and I sang the theme tune from Ava's Possessions, which was all over the trailer and stuff, and that was really good fun. That was really, really good fun.
And we have a question from Sorry Dan Jackie, who's a regular here on the show, and they say, do you create the visuals with your song or only after the song is ready? What a great question.
So when I'm writing music, I actually get a lot of visuals and I get a lot of pictures in my mind, and I collect them into vision boards and mood boards. I've actually very much been taken up with mood boards on Canva. And I think for the visuals for this, that it was a mixture of certain things that I'd picked out. Obviously, you know, the Volta environment is something that Volta have designed, and there were various other light effects that were coming from another camera. So I think it was a very collaborative process of just sort of picking things, and I mean, I think we're on to something, right?
And we've got a couple of other questions that are anonymous, but guys, if you're going to ask questions, leave your name. We love shout outs. Anonymous is boring. I hate anonymous. So this question is, what have you been listening to this year? What have you been excited by?
Oh, wow. Okay. I've been excited by lots of different things. So I really loved the album by Salt. I think everyone loved that. I loved the Fiona Apple album, Fetch the Bolt Cutters. What else? I've been listening to so many things. I've been re-embracing the Sharon Von Etten album, even though that came out last year. What else? So much music I listened to. I was actually, one of my favourite lockdown reads was the biography on Malcolm McLaren, which is written by a friend of mine called Paul Gorman. So Malcolm McLaren is most famous for being the manager of the Sex Pistols and the father of the punk movement, or the godfather of the punk movement in the UK, certainly. But he also produced some really incredible albums during the 80s, one called Fans. He was very instrumental in the Vogue scene and finding Voguers like Willie Ninja. So that album is called Waltz Darling. And he also produced an album called Duck Rock in the early 80s, which Eminem and Dr. Dre then went to sample on one of those really big hits. So I've been rediscovering the musical work of Malcolm McLaren as a producer, because I knew him more as like a cultural instigator and, you know, managing various punk bands and stuff. But yeah, it's like, go and check Malcolm McLaren out, because he was so forward thinking in the way he brought different genres together. And he was rapping as well. It was just crazy.
So it's just another one of those people that's multi-talented like yourself, who just can't pick a lane and has to be good at everything.
Yeah, we're greedy.
and that actually is something that I don't do enough, actually, is hearing something that's been sampled and figuring out the origin of that. Is that something that you do a lot?
I think sometimes I do. I think because I used to work in a record shop years ago, and I've always approached music from that level. Like, there are, radio stations like Resonance and like NTS, and I suppose they might take a little bit more of a specialist look at music, but I think it's just been, being in bands since I was a teenager, hanging out with my mates, everyone putting on records, everyone telling things to each other, like, just really like a nerd, reading loads of Bowie interviews and finding out what are all of Bowie's influences, or reading up on an artist that I really love and just looking at what they're into. Like, I don't know, even if you look at a band like Gorillaz, if you look at all of the artists they work with and all of the influences that they accumulate with, I mean, it's just been absolutely massive, the range of artists they've worked with. So I really love artists and producers who work from that perspective.
And something else has just come to mind as well with hearing you talk about that. Because you were classically trained and all the rest of it, was stepping outside of that always something that you planned to do? Was it always like, I'm going to train here and I'm going to use this as an education, as a jumping off point to do something else? Or did you think that that was what you were going to be at first, more classically trained?
I think initially I thought I was going to be more classically trained, but I started reading magazines. That's well retro. But I started reading magazines like The Face. Yeah, I had an older, very cool sister who read magazines like The Face and Select, and I started reading the music press, and I started to find out about clubs and fashion and alternative thinkers and performance art, and I just knew that I knew that there was something else that I needed to go and discover. I knew that there was another world, you know, and I grew up bang in the middle of London, and I knew that these things were happening in Soho, which were only like a 20-minute tube ride from me, and I just knew that there were things going on that I wanted to be a part of, and I've definitely, you know, followed that path and fulfilled that, and met lots of people and been a part of a lot of different scenes and stuff.
And to this date, what is your favorite, not a favorite collaboration, we've already asked that, but like your favorite process that you've been part of in terms of something that surprised you, like a route that you took that you weren't expecting it to sort of lead you to somewhere that was successful?
You know, I think one of the most special moments in my life was being a part of Yoko Ono's Meltdown, and we all performed on the final night of the festival. And
it's just so mad. And it's so amazing that you get to just say that as like a thing that happened in your life.
Yeah, but listen to this, like the dressing room order was like number 1 Yoko Ono, number 2 Susie Sue, number 3 Patti Smith, number 4 Boy George, number 5 Bishi, like, you know, and I took a picture of it and I was like, I'm going to remember this forever because these are like people that I've respected and admired so much, and
you get to stand shoulder to shoulder with them.
The order of our dressing rooms. Yeah. And that was amazing. And it was an interpretation of the album Double Fantasy, which was released just a few days after John Lennon left the world. And I think it's his birthday. Is it his 80th anniversary today or tomorrow? So it's also extra nice to bring that up because like this is the, you know, year of his 80th anniversary, and there's some really cool things.
Yeah, you're right. Tomorrow
to celebrate that
is his birthday. Yeah, John Lennon's birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday, John Lennon.
Yeah. Happy birthday, John.
Right. Okay. So this has been wonderful to chat to you, Bishi. We're gonna have one more question, and then we're gonna have to say goodbye, unfortunately. Yes. But I could talk to you all night.
Yeah, I know.
This has been wonderful.
We should do it IRL.
I agree, if that's allowed, if the government let us.
Yeah. Yes. So I know.
The final question that we have is, what are you working on next? It's a very cheeky question, I know, but the people want to know.
Ooh, I lost you. Yes. Okay, I lost you for a second.
Sorry, the question was, what are you working on next?
What am I working on next? Let me dial back into my brain. Right, so I think I'm allowed to say this. So I've got the single out, which is next Friday, which I'm very excited about. And then I'm going to be a guest at Anushka Shankar's Reflector Festival in Hamburg. That's on November the 7th. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll be taking more of this sitar tronica, for want of a better word, over to Hamburg on November the 7th. And I'm very much looking forward to. I don't know if any of you saw Anushka Shankar at the Proms with Gold Panda, but that was really cool. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but I'd really recommend everyone check that out.
Well,
she's a great
Bishi,
woman.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for giving us the time and for performing so uniquely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you to Volta for being amazing in this process as well.
Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody before you leave, before you say goodbye?
Well, you know, take care of yourself, stay safe, stay creative, and stay on the path.
Bishi, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. So that was the amazing Bishi. Make sure you follow her over on Amazon Music. Now, if you just joined us, this is the Amazon Music Sessions live on